I do not agree to grandmother being the supervisor. Right? Her grandmother's got a rap sheet longer than mine. Okay, and I got a rap sheet, sir. Okay, um,
I
that's
think I
just
get
honest.
I get the general gist. If anybody's drunk or high, including the grandmother or Miss Briggs or Miss Chapman, visitation doesn't happen.
But I mean, definitely like an overnight. I think that, there's no reason why I haven't been able to sleep or tuck my kid in or give him a bath, in 4 years, I mean, and I've been to plenty of parenting classes. I've been to rehab. I've been to, I have completed things and since he's been born, that, I mean, I could probably teach a parenting class, truth be told, so.
I have her mother on like pretty much supervised visits right now. Right? She showed up to my house drinking, and I'm in recovery, been sober over 5 years, and threw her liquor bottle underneath the bush on my front porch. So grandmother gets supervised visits.
Oh my God.
Or do you both swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Manuel, you're parked, correct?
Sir?
You're parked.
I'm sorry, I can't hear
Is
you.
your vehicle parked?
Yes, sir. Yes, I'm sitting
Okay.
sitting in
All right,
front of
thank
the
you.
drive.
All right, that's fine. I just need to answer the question. All right, Ms. Nutt, go ahead and proceed.
Your Honor, we're on a motion for a change of status. The child is currently living with the father, Mr. Manuel, and the mother is in agreement with that. We have an agreement on most of the terms except for visitation and support. So I'll read the agreements out to the record first. The parties, like I stated, agree that the child is living with the father and has been since August of 2019. The parents are in agreement to be appointed or to remain as joint managing conservators, but with Mr. Manuel designating the child's primary residence without any geographic restriction. He currently lives in the Houston area. They are not in agreement on a specific time frame for visitation, but they do agree to an injunction to where neither party will consume drugs or alcohol 12 hours before possession or during possession. And I do believe they're also in agreement that Ms. Chapman will produce a clean drug test before any visitation period, and that Mr. Manuel will pay for that drug test.
No, Michael's not paying for it.
Oh, he's not in agreement to pay for the drug test then.
No.
So I will come back to that issue. Neither parent has access to private health insurance at a reasonable cost right now. Mr. Manuel will try to apply for Medicaid or CHIPS for the child. Mom has agreed to pay medical support of $113 per month beginning March 1st, 2024. Ms. Chapman is also releasing all unassigned child support and medical support arrears. So after release, Mr. Manuel has child support arrears of $715.43 as of February 27th, 2024, and he'll pay that off at $10 per month beginning March 1st, 2024. After release of the unassigned medical support arrears, his judgment is $868.42 as of February 27th, 2024, and he'll pay that off at $10 per month beginning March 1st. Both parents agreed there's been no family violence in the last 2 years, and neither is requesting a non-disclosure. I will start by calling the father, Mr. Manuel. Will you please state your name? Will you unmute your device?
Okay, I'm sorry. Michael Manuel.
Okay, and sir, what's the child's name?
Manuel.
Okay, and did you hear those agreements that I just read out into the record?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and I know I announced the agreed term for the drug testing, but other than that, are you in agreement with everything else I read out?
No, ma'am. After sitting here and thinking about it for the last 30 minutes, the custody thing, I'm requesting it be sole custody. Now, I know that she's going to argue with it, but it needs to be sole custody.
Okay, so besides that, and besides the drug testing, everything else you're still in agreement with?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and so you're requesting to be a sole managing conservator then?
Yes, ma'am.
And can you explain why you believe that's in the best interest of the child?
Well, because when CPS gave the child to me and they requested her to do, all the stuff they request, because of the situation that the child like classes, rehab, drug testing. She just bailed. She's
Mr.
only seen
Manuel,
this kid in the
Mr.
last
Manuel,
4 years.
Mr. Manuel, your
Yes, ma'am.
connection kind of cut up there. So can you repeat what you were saying?
Yes. Uh, since you gave me August 19, and CPS ordered her to do all these things, parents and all that. She just bailed on it. She doesn't do any of that. And um, and he's only seen 3 times in the last 4 years. So I mean, I feel like pretty much like she's abandoning type situation, and drugs has been first, and I get it because I've been there, but at this time I'm requesting sole conservatorship of him.
Okay. And is there still a current CPS case open?
No, there is not. They closed it. They couldn't keep it open because we couldn't get a hold of her. She just like went off the map.
And
Griffin went
what
to
was their
jail.
reason? What was CPS's reasoning for removing her from the possession of the mother?
Because multiple people reported that she was high on drugs in different situations.
Okay. And you've had him since August of 2019, and since then, have you been the main one making decisions for him?
Absolutely. She hasn't made a single decision.
And has she
She-
reached out to you to try to be involved or no?
On a few occasions, but on most occasions, I've reached out to her because the kid wants her in his life. You know what I'm saying? He wants to know his mom's okay. And like, as of right now, she can't even, like, I'm letting them talk every weekend on the telephone for a few, on Saturday mornings, and on multiple times she's not answered her phone. She can't even be consistent with, answering a phone call for him. And, there's no consistency because she's still doing the same old thing. And I'm not mad at her for that. I want her to do the best. Nobody's on her team more than I am, but I'm on my son's team more, and he needs consistency before she starts trying to enter his life again.
Okay. And so as for visitation, are you wanting her visits to be supervised?
Absolutely.
And who would you request to be a supervisor?
Well, I would let either me or her sister do it. But I'm requesting that the judge put something in there. She used to take some parenting classes and pass multiple drug tests, not less 12 hours before she shows up.
And would you be willing to pay for those drug tests, or do you?
No, I would not. She can pay for them herself. I pay for everything else.
And you live in,
I do.
and that's outside of Houston, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you know where mom currently lives?
She doesn't have a current address. She moves around motel to motel.
Okay. Is she mostly in the DFW area? Do you know?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
As far as I know, I don't know for sure. I never know her location.
Okay. And we've calculated child support based on minimum wage, which for a mom comes out to $209 per month beginning March 1st, 2024. Are you requesting any child support from Ms. Chapman?
No.
Do you believe that's in your child's best interest?
Yeah.
And just to confirm, you're okay with your address and your phone number being printed in the court order?
Yes, ma'am. Just so long as she can't show up there. Yes, ma'am. I don't want her showing up in my house and stirring up no mess.
Okay. If the court orders a visitation schedule, it's typically on Ms. Chapman to come to your residence to do pickup and drop-offs. Is there a neutral location you would suggest instead?
I mean, if the court orders visitation, then yeah, and then she can just come to my house, or I can meet her anywhere she wants to meet, as long as it's in my area. I'm not driving to Dallas.
Okay, but you'd be okay with her coming over to your residence for that purpose? Is that correct, Mr. Manuel?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I will pass the witness. The state calls the mother Ms. Chapman. Ms. Chapman, will you please state your name?
Kelly Chapman.
Okay. And so, Ms. Chapman, I read out some things in the beginning. Those terms I read out, are you in agreement with them?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Okay. And I originally read out that you and Mr. Manuel agreed to joint managing conservatorship, but you just heard him state that he wants sole managing conservatorship. Are you still requesting joint?
I think that joint is fair. I mean, I give him, he's been making decisions for him this long, and I'm perfectly okay with his judgment on things. I just think that it's just fair that, it remains equal or joint, although regardless of how it ends up in court today, it'll still be him making all the decisions. He's not included me whatsoever. Even his information is true. I have not been present most of the time because of the way I've not been allowed to call because of my inconsistencies. I haven't been able to, I haven't been allowed to call or to be in contact. So I haven't contacted him because whenever I talk to my son, he's being coached on what to say. It was for so long I felt like that. He's calling another woman.
Oh, you put yourself on mute by accident.
Give us the new mother, the new
Okay, so Ms. Chapman, you're wanting joint managing conservatorship, which is what it was ordered originally in 2017, correct?
Yes, ma'am. If
And you're
possible.
wanting the ability to be able to be involved in his life.
Please.
And let's see. You're releasing all of the unassigned arrears that are owed to you. Is anyone forcing you or threatening you to release that money?
No, ma'am, I did that on my own.
And you understand that once it's released, you can't come back to court and get the money back.
Correct.
Okay. And you are unemployed currently, is that correct?
Correct.
And do you have any other children?
I don't.
Okay, so I've calculated minimum wage child support at $209 per month. Are you in agreement or disagreement to pay the child support?
Agreement.
Okay. Do you have any safety concerns with your address or your phone number being printed in the court order?
No, ma'am.
Okay, and so let's talk about visitation. You're wanting your visits to be unsupervised, is that correct?
I mean, if my mom, somebody, I'm not going to go pick my kid up under the influence of any kind of drugs. I don't use drugs on a daily basis. I use recreationally. I have in the past, and I drink. I'm just maybe a little more than the average person that drinks or does whatever, on their weekends, but that's fine. I don't need unsupervised visitation. I just want to be able to see my kid, once a month. If I were to come to town, I do live in the DFW area, so it's a little drive to go back home. But whenever I would come, I would like to be able to see him with my mom. I won't be alone. I'll be with my mom, my aunt, not necessarily my sister, but somebody. If myself, then maybe my family. That's
okay.
Trusted.
So you'd be okay with either your mom or your aunt being a supervisor?
For sure.
Okay.
But definitely like overnight. I think that there's no reason why I haven't been able to sleep or tuck my kid in or give him a bath. In 4 years. And I've been to plenty of parenting classes. I've been to rehab. I've been to I have completed things, and since he's been born, I could probably teach a parenting class. Truth be told, so. I could probably teach a parenting class, truth be told, so just consider that in the decisions if you could.
And you're wanting to have overnights with him as well?
Maybe once a month, one night a month, if possible, maybe every 3 months, once a night. For one night, just something to reestablish the bond. My kid, he wants me, he wants a relationship with me. And the phone, 30 minutes, 10 minutes, once a week is not very, very often.
Okay. And is the CPS case still open or is it closed?
It's closed.
Okay. And what was the result of the case?
I don't really know, ma'am. I didn't. My kid went to my mom's house whenever I started using. I was responsible enough, and I put him with my mother before they didn't remove him. He was already removed. I've already placed him with my mother when I did relapse. So he was never around me using.
Okay. And did you ever go to court for CPS?
No.
Okay. I'll pass the witness.
All right. Most of the parts y'all agreed to, those are all fine with me. Just because Mr. Manuel lives in Houston and Ms. Chapman, you live in Dallas, that's a good reason, at least just for that reason only, that we should do sole managing, because it's going to be pretty hard for y'all to work together if y'all don't live in the same city. So I don't really need to go much more into that than the other issues y'all discussed. So be sole managing with Mr. Manuel to make the decisions. Medical support's 113. The judgments that were read are fine. And then child support's 209 based on minimum wage. On the visitation, I have concerns if you're saying you're not sober and clean and you're still recreationally using here and there, I mean, that's not right. That doesn't make any sense. So
Right.
sometimes you have to make a choice of whether it's more important to use recreationally or visit your children on a regular basis. That's the way I look at it. And to me,
True.
it's an easy decision for me to make, and it should be an easy decision for most people to make, but not everybody does. So that's something that needs to happen before we can talk about having a whole weekend of visitation. So let's do this for visitation. It'll be 1 weekend per month. You need to let's see. Write my note here. All right. You need to give Mr. Manuel 48-hour notice, like 2 days before, telling him that you're going to come for your visitation. It'll be 1 weekend per month, or 1 Saturday per month. Let me write that. I think I wrote it wrong on my notes here. Sorry. All right, that'll be 1 Saturday per month from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. and that's supervised by a maternal grandmother. So Mr. Manuel should be coming to your residence to pick up, or if you want to tell her a place to meet near your home, you can do that too. But otherwise, she's going to come to your residence with the maternal grandmother. Probably best to start off picking up at your residence. If she's under the influence of drugs or alcohol at the time, then that'd be reasonable. That I don't think anybody's going to tell you that you can't deny your visitation. So if you're under the influence, you're not getting your visit. So if
No.
you're
All right, so
sober, then the visitation will be from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m., supervised by maternal grandmother. So maternal grandmother needs to make the trip to Houston or to Mr. Manuel's residence for supervision. I'm sure grandmother wants to visit as well anyway, so that will work out pretty well. And she needs to make sure she's supervising at all times for those 5 hours. I don't want to do overnight visitation right now if you're still not clean and sober. So,
Can
in
it,
the best interest of the child, please stop talking, both of y'all. You need to listen. Let me finish first. All right, it's not very important that you get clean until you've done that. That I understand Mr. Manuel's concerns. That makes sense, but that's why I've also limited to just a few hours instead of an overnight. Hopefully, you wouldn't be using in the middle of the day, and hopefully, you wouldn't go to a visitation drunk or high. So I think just limiting it to those 5 hours should work. I'm also ordering telephone access, that the child be available for telephone access every Thursday night from 7 to 7:30. I don't up to 30 minutes, depending on how long. It can be shorter if you want. But Ms. Chapman, you're to initiate the phone call. Mr. Manuel, you need to make sure that you answer the phone, or if the child has his own phone, that he answers, and you make sure, of course, he knows that mother's going to be calling. And it'll only be those times. It won't be other times. Now, I am also ordering that mother pay for one drug test before the visitation begins. So you need to do a drug test and then show Mr. Manuel a copy of the drug test. You can probably do that by emailing him or texting him a copy of the drug test and then bringing it with you when you go to pick up the child. I'm not going to order multiple drug tests because I think we'll kind of know what the way your condition is when you show up. And I would really hope that you're not going to show up high. So if you're showing up high, then Mr. Manuel's got a reason to say, nope, not happening.
Right.
And then from there, hopefully things will improve. Let's see. I think I already said child sports $209 a month, medical sports $113. Everything else that y'all agreed to, I'm approving all that. I'm not going to go over it again. All right, Mr. Manuel. Oh, let me start. I know that maybe both of y'all don't agree with everything I've just said. I understand that, but that's my ruling. But I'll answer a question if you have a question, but I'm not going to probably change my mind. So, Mr. Manuel, did you have a question before I let you go for the day?
I did, sir. I have her mother on like pretty much supervised visits right now, right? Because when I was in the beginning, I was letting her mother the grandmother have supervised visits. She showed up to my house drinking, and I'm in recovery, been sober over 5 years, and threw her liquor bottle underneath the bush on my front porch. So grandmother gets supervised visits, anytime she wants to see, any weekend she wants to come see him. I actually had grandmother at my house last weekend for the first time. I do not agree to grandmother being the supervisor. If she wants to use her sister, right? Her grandmother's got a rap sheet longer than mine, okay? And I got a rap sheet, sir, okay? Um,
I
that's
think
just honest.
I get the general gist that the sister's not going to cooperate. So is there somebody else besides grandmother or sister?
If she wanted to use her aunt, her mom's sister, I can't remember her name. What's the aunt's name, Kelly?
Jacqueline.
Miss Jackie, I would be more than happy if Miss Jackie wants to agree to do it. I would be more than happy to let Miss Jackie do it.
Okay. All right. Miss Chapman, did you have a question?
My mother has no record. I was just gonna say that, but when would the when to change it like to overnight? If I were to get clean, like who would be like to describe? Would you have to come back to court to file an appeal, or to file how would we come back to court in front of you or another
You have to
judge?
file a motion to modify the order and set up a hearing and notify Mr. Manuel, and so there's will be a whole court process, and you just announce it to somebody, and then it happens. Okay.
Right. And then on the drug screening, where do I get the do I go to like a lab, or like do I go take a home drug test there at the visitation, like whenever I'm picking him up, or something like that? Or
You need to go to a lab because we're not going to believe if you go do it on your
Well,
own. We're not going to believe that
possible.
you're the one that took the exam. Okay, so we want an
Right.
independent party to be able to look at your results. You get what I'm saying?
Okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna change the supervisor to Miss Briggs. That doesn't mean that the grandmother can't go to the visitation. But
Absolutely
again, hold on. Again, if anybody's drunk or high, including the grandmother or Miss Briggs or Miss Chapman, visitation doesn't happen. Because the whole point of having a supervisor, number one, is that they're coherent and understand what's going on, and they can be a supervisor. And if you'd have somebody that isn't, then that's not going to help. That's going to make things worse, and it can make everything worse. So everybody that's going to go needs to be sober and clean. Does that make sense, Ms. Chapman?
Absolutely. I have no desire to be using it for my child. I have no use for my kid drunk or high.
Well, everybody needs to be clean.
Not correct. I agree with that.
Okay. All right, then. Miss Nutt, did you have any questions before I let you go?
Yes, I just want to confirm you said that Miss Chapman needs to give a 48-hour notice to father if she's going to exercise her visit.
Yes. So
Okay.
but Thursday, I need you to know by Thursday because Mr. Manuel needs to make plans. And I know I think I heard in your testimony that you weren't too sure how often you could go. I understand, like, obviously the drive from Dallas to Houston is not an easy drive. Let's say it's not like you're just going down the street. So I would think you would plan ahead in advance. So by, like, let's say Thursday night, text Mr. Manuel, call him, email him something, say, hey, I'm planning to come down. You can always do that sooner. So if it's Monday or whatever, you can definitely do that. But I don't want Mr. Manuel to be waiting on Saturday at 1:00 for you to come, and he knows you're not going to come, and he's got other things he wants to do, and maybe the child has something else they want to do, and so that's why I want that to happen there, so that we all are on the same page, and we can make sure that happens. I'm not designating which Saturday of the month, just that it'd be on Saturdays. So it's up to you. So if you don't reach out to Mr. Manuel and let him know, then he'll basically say, okay, she's not coming this weekend. And I mean, obviously gas is expensive and stuff like that. So I understand that, but let him know so he can make plans and kind of rearrange his schedule. Does that make sense, Ms. Chapman?
Absolutely. That's totally understandable.
Okay.
And be consistent on my end. I get it. Thank you so much.
Right.
One more question, Your Honor. The drug testing, it's just one drug testing before Miss Chapman's first visitation.
Yes.
Okay.
Follicle.
All right. All right, we're done with your case then. The Attorney General's office will email y'all a copy. Y'all are done with court. You can press leave on the Zoom to exit out. Thank you.
Your Honor.